Welcome back to Mishpacha Magazine's Take Two, where you get a personal glimpse, a close-up with the names and the faces familiar to you from the pages of the magazine. The legend, the OG, the GOAT, whatever term you're going to use, Abie Rotenberg occupies a very special place in Jewish music. A man whose enduring relevance and impact has been felt not for a decade, not for 2 decades, but B'li Hara, for much longer than that, and Yirtzeh Hashem for many years to come. Abie?
Well, thank you for the bracha. I'm not so sure I like the reference to the Sir La Azazel, but
I thought I could make a sports reference with you.
Absolutely. I know what it means.
So
I don't think it applies to me. There's certainly greater and more significant composers than myself, and Baruch Hashem, I have my hat in the ring, and I've been able to contribute a little bit, but the degree of platitude is a little too much.
I would say go to greatest of all time. Maybe they're better composers, maybe they're better lyricists, but people who are able to do what you've been able to do in Jewish music, I don't think anybody has even tried to be a lyricist and a composer and to compose.
I understand, but the GOAT, greatest of all time, is really not a Jewish concept at all. I mean, nobody could ever
be the
strive
greatest
for something of all time. It's nuts.
So here's where you push in that unexpected Chavetz Chaim Bal Musar in you that sometimes shows itself.
You're embarrassing.
To say greatest.
What?
Can I say you're great at what you've done? It's been a great career so far.
Baruch Hashem, people seem to enjoy what I've put out, and they seem to connect to it, and that's a wonderful thing.
I didn't mean to make this conversation so awkward so quickly, but we're running into something here, which is very interesting about you.
Okay.
There's a price to celebrity, as they say, a certain exposure and a certain expectation that you're just going to connect with the people around you, and you've always been more private. I don't know if it's introverted or you're not withdrawn, but you're not a person, you're not out there backslapping, and I've watched you enough times backstage at Hask and other concerts, and I've seen you, you come from the airport with your backpack and you sit there and you do your thing, and you're not doing that star thing where you're just slapping it up with everybody.
Baruch Hashem, I have to thank my wife. She keeps me rooted in this world, and my feet are on the ground, and there's not. I know my own faults better than anybody else, so that they pull me down as well, and they root me into the earth, and Baruch Hashem. I think one of the advantages I've had in my career is that I never had to perform or write music or record anything for a living. I didn't have to do it as my parnasa. So somebody who is out there and has to be this persona who attracts business and attracts people, and maybe you have to mingle in a certain way, and it's more difficult for them. So they have a greater nisayon.
If you were starting out now in 2021, if you were a boy of 18, 19, just getting started now, do you think you would even be able to do that?
Oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
Instagram,
how would I respond to today, the pressure and the image that people have of musicians?
And the exposure.
I'm fortunate that I grew up in a time when the music was really very, I know you say in Ivrit, amami, it was folk music. It was very much, you felt like you were part of expression, and today it's so much more of a business. It's a real industry.
And the star culture surrounding the performers themselves.
There really wasn't star culture when we were growing up. I mean, Shlomo was famous and everybody knew him, but even Shlomo was such a simple and forthright person, and you could go over to him and talk to him, and there was no separation between.
Imagine it helps for you to live out of town where you're able to just do your thing. It's not like you're living it's not such a public arena.
Well, some people say I grew up out of town because I was born in Queens. So some people would say that's out of town.
We discussed once that Rabbi Teitelbaum Shul, where you grew up, was a springboard of so many future leaders in such a different variety of ways. So many great Klal Yisrael figures came out of that little shul.
Amazing.
Something in the air. You yourself was inspired, you told me, by
Eli was amazing, and Eli was iconic. Even to us children growing up, we knew he was iconic. He made the Pirchei records. He was a photographer. He knew judo. He was a camp counselor and a head counselor. And Pesach Kron was amazing, a Pirchei leader, and just such an outgoing and uplifting person. And Kalman Kron, all of Shalom, as tremendous leaders that we had for the kids growing up.
Was it a musically inclined shul? Was there something musical about that shul, or?
was a shtiebel, so there was always a buzz in the air when certain people would daven for the Yomid because they were the ones who would get the olim excited. But it was very much European.
My wife's grandfather was Baltfila there, Shani Yom Kippur, in Teitelbaum's shul, Herzl Schechter.
Sure, I remember.
So he would talk about that a lot.
He was a wonderful Baltfila, and when he got up there was a little buzz.
And then Rabbi Van Biederman from Shuvu told me once about how
Teitelbaum's father,
shul,
Chaim Shia,
the atmosphere just fostered. It made you want to go do great things. So
you know what, maybe. I only went to that shul. I can't comment on other shuls. I'm sure, other shuls had.
Were you Baltfila as a bacher?
My father would daven for the Yomid occasionally, and my father, when he would hear a niggin, he would try to learn it and incorporate it into his davening. And when they first came out with the cassette recorder, I remember he bought a little cassette machine, and some chevra came over. My father could play piano, and they were singing into the cassette, and you could hear it back immediately. It was such a chiddush for them to be able to get instant feedback without having to get those big reel-to-reel tape recorders and microphones and,
So music was in your life, but it was never thought of as a career. It was just something you did to...
No, I've said, as far as, producing or writing or getting involved in the world of Jewish music, that happened to me in Camp Sdei Chemed in 1969. So I was a counselor. Eli asked me to be a counselor. He gave me the youngest bunk. I was the youngest counselor. And all of the other counselors in camp were just fantastic musicians. Baruch Chait was the head counselor. Eli Kranzler was a counselor. Eli Birnbaum, Benny Burma. They all played guitar. They would sing folk songs. They would sing Jewish music. Bari was the rabbi's sons. I mean, the rabbi's sons was like, they were like the Beatles to me. They were lahavdil. But so I was so jealous. I was the only counselor. I was an Amma Oretz Gomor. Kinas Seifrim, and I determined that year I was going to learn how to play guitar, play piano, and I started, started working at it. And when I come up with a tune and sing it to people, they seem to like it, and they seem to think it had some substance.
This once. You had gone through some pain in your personal life at that time. You had lost your mother.
Yes.
And your music was maybe then you knew that, or maybe you didn't, but it was sort of probably either an escape or an expression of something.
It was a catharsis for me, for sure. But did I turn to music because of that? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist or.
We'll say that your music has consistently touched places in Emunah. It's given people tools to deal with things where other people's music hasn't been able to reach that deep, probably because it came from such a deep source in those years. Another thing you told me, maybe I'm even guilty of it, is that people sometimes tell you that you meant this or you were referencing that.
That's great. I love that.
These lyrics meant that, and you were like...
I love it. Maybe they do. I don't know. Sometimes there are multiple layers to an idea. Sometimes it might be subconscious. Look, we are, the Jewish people are the people of the book. We learn things and we analyze them, and then we analyze it again, and we do a Rashi's pshat, and then we do a Taisus pshat. Then we got the other Rishonim and the Achron. Everybody's splitting hairs.
So you're comfortable with the fact that your music is being learned up and studied and analyzed like?
Totally comfortable with that.
I want to read you something, if that's okay. There's a Yehuda Geber, who's a superstar historian for the magazine. He does a column called For the Record, which him and Davi Zafir take on different concepts in Jewish history. So he put this out on social media. It was almost like a poll. I want to read you some of the answers. He wrote, "What is the most meaningful line from any English Jewish song?" That was the question he asked. So the reason he had asked this, because in the magazine there's a new up-and-coming singer. His name is Yisachar Dvar. They had done an interview with him, and he had answered that the words he finds most compelling in Jewish music are, "Can the mercy of mere flesh and blood run deeper than yours, our Creator?" And he put this out on Twitter, and people were answering. I'm going to just read you some of the random answers that came in. The legendary East Side Bums were gone forevermore. Somebody found that powerful, because we're dealing with a crowd that is also very proud of how we keep the laws of modesty, which is brilliant in its own way. But they're malachal. No, I don't want to. Are you seeing a tzad hashav, a common denominator in all these lyrics? The ones I read. I could keep going if you want.
Come on, there's got to be something else in there.
There are. Yeah, my dad was deaf. He said last night he passed away, but that's okay. But I don't know if those are original as yours are. Look, Zaydo Shmuel is one of the Gedalim, and I'm giving his card to you.
Wow. I like the first one best, by the way.
Can the mercy of mere flesh and blood?
In terms of
there are a lot
a
more
single
of yours
line
here.
with
Not the more that come from you. You know, I could
Okay,
send
but
this
I
to
would
you,
think that that's one of the deeper lines or more.
But you can argue that something like we're dealing with a crowd that is so very proud, the cynicism and power of
That is a line. That's a line that's restricted to the Jewish community and our world. And the mercy of mere flesh and blood run deeper than yours, our Creator, is a universal theme, and it's not just limited to us and to Jewish music per se. It's something to think about. You know, just the fact that a human being could even have that thought or that idea or that impression, and people do have it. Obviously, it's erroneous.
The heavens had told her that it's all right to cry, which again is way ahead of its time, even in psychology, in the validation it gives people. And there are so many like that. So there has to be a lot of, you can't just say, yeah, I don't know, I was sitting and it rhymed. It doesn't work to say that.
No, it's more than just a rhyme. It's more than just a rhyme. These are thoughts and ideas and things that have percolated, you know, and somehow they find their way into a song.
And you wrote the lyrics first and then created the tune, or the other way around? How did you do it?
Both ways. Both ways.
You had an idea in your head of a message, and
well, take the Sefer Torah song, right? The Sefer Torah song, the niggin I didn't write. So it's a niggin that's been around for a long, long time. But that niggin was in the back of my head, swimming around while I was writing those words. So I would say then that the tune preceded the niggin, so I knew where I wanted to go in terms of the meter or the timing of the song and the rhyme structure. But other times I'll sit down and simply write a theme or a song, and then later I'll figure out how to fit the song in. The Atheist Convention. I had no idea how I was going to fit the song in, but I had the words. I wasn't going to change the words, so I had to fit the music.
There's a very good message in that song. I heard this from my Rabbi, actually. He said that at the end, one becomes a sheik or one becomes a priest,
right? But
Howard's still a dentist in Woodmere. And what you're saying is, I think, you don't have to be a Rav.
You can have a relationship
with the
Rabbi
us.
Shalom.
You could still be a dentist and be holy.
That's right.
Which again was a message almost ahead of its time in terms of what people needed to hear. You were empowering a new generation of...
I worked in chinuch. It was in my early years when I was in my 20s. I was very involved in a high school in California, in the San Fernando Valley. We had wonderful, wonderful kids in the school from all kinds of backgrounds. Our mission wasn't just to teach a line of Gemara or Pasuk Chumash. Our mission was to get these kids excited about Yiddishkeit. And it was happening already in the world. There was Shema Yisrael, there was Eshat Torah, there was Or Sameach. It was happening on a collegiate level, like a base medrash level. There was this kiruv movement. But there wasn't that much going on at the high school level, on a younger level. Today it's much more common. Okay. But we were, scrambling and working and trying to change these kids' lives. And eventually, it didn't happen right away, but after doing that for several years and being exposed to Moshe Yes and Shalom Levine's music and Magama, on that level, on the higher level, I said, I've got to do something. I got to start writing songs that in the language of our youth can talk about Hashem, talk about Yiddishkeit.
That was a jump for you. You had been...
I had done Dveikus, I had done...
viewers might not see it from the color of your hair and your hairline itself, Baruch Hashem. It's impressive. It's one of the more impressive from hairlines I've ever seen. For the Ashkenazi male, you're pulling a good one, Baruch Hashem. But you've been doing this for a lot of years.
I'm not gonna respond to that, even though I have what to say. I was given a good line a few minutes ago.
Tell it to me.
I'm not gonna say it. No.
You're welcome to share anything here.
Kavod Abrius is,
I'll take it.
Donnie Gross, how you doing? He's over there. He's thinking right now. He's the producer in him is percolating and saying, how come you don't have a Kavod Abrius song on the Marvelous Midos Machine?
Let's get Kavod Abrius.
Let's get one done.
That's a good question.
Maybe Joey will do it. Have Joey write it.
We have to talk about Donnie and Joe. We have so many questions to you. Okay. But I wanted to talk about that. So you can her over 50 years, that you've been. It's hard to believe that.
72. I was born at 52. So yeah.
Over 50 years of producing.
Right. So
music.
I was about 20
when I
was 21 when we did. So almost 50. Not
but
quite.
You jumped 50. From like you were saying, Lashon Kodesh, Psukim, Hebrew lyrics to English lyrics one day. So that was.
I was 34 years old when I wrote my first song in English.
Which was?
It's Time to Say Good Job. That was the first song on Journeys, and it was.
And
the
you
first
felt
song.
like you were reaching the kids with that song in a different way.
I felt I could sing it anywhere. I felt I could go to any venue an NCSY Shabbaton, a YU seminar, any venue, a public school, and take a guitar and sing that song, and they understand the words. They'll understand what I'm talking about. Yeah, a few concise Hebrew words here and there are going to work.
Of songs you've written over the years, and you regret the use of one word over another.
Sure, I have regret.
Like what?
In conversation in the womb, I have a regret, and when I sing it today, I change it. And our existence is empty and cold. The womb is not a cold place. It may be empty and it may be confined and it may be dark, but it's not cold. It's warm. It's So I have better lines that I would have and should have used.
Can I ask you something? Bear with me a minute. Do you mind? Can I play you something?
Sure.
What are your thoughts to this?
My dear brother, walk around and tell me what your eyes behold.
Yeah, I know that song. Sure.
Look, Conversation in the Room from an album called Jerry Wisentowski.
A bluegrass album. Yeah.
So this marks, clearly you're Abie Rotenberg. You don't have to come onto other sources. You're plenty inspired and original on your own. I think this is the only account I know of none of the secular world stealing something from our world.
Well, he's not exactly like a household name in the secular world. I wish he was, because I'd probably be getting something in the mail every once in a while. Or today it's direct deposit.
Doesn't that strike you as noteworthy?
This is 30 years ago.
Somebody called you up and said, "Could you?"
In those days, I think it was a phone call or a letter, because it was before email. So we were contacted by him, and he wanted to. He heard the song. I'm not sure how. Jewish fellow. And the theme of the song and the words resonated with him, but he wanted to do it in his style of music, and that just goes to show you how music is so personal for every individual in the world. He took a very serious theme of the afterlife and what goes on after the womb, and then from the womb to the next world. And I believe in a world to come, but he did it on a bluegrass.
You were totally comfortable with sharing it beyond.
He could have done it in a rap song if he wanted. He could have, or somebody else wants to do it in any style they want if it's meaningful to them.
Did you enjoy this at all?
And they ask permission, as long as they ask permission. Well, I guess today you don't have to ask permission. You just do your cover and then,
Did you enjoy listening to this, or?
I like my version better. I think it's more meaningful, but.
Were you surprised over recent years? You mentioned Donnie Gross gets a lot of credit for the resurgence. But were you surprised by the popularity of the albums that are re-releasing songs of 30 or 40 years ago, and the way a new generation is taking to them?
You're talking about like the off-the-record songs,
right.
And it's interesting. I'm not sure how to react. I've listened to them, and in a way, it's a revival of songs, and certainly young people who aren't going to run out and buy 20-year-old albums or 30-year-old albums because we don't advertise them. They're not new. They're old. Are getting a glimpse into those songs. At the same time, you don't get the whole song. It's chopped up, so you really get a little piece of. So for the people who knew the song, it's nostalgic, and maybe you don't need to play them the whole song because it reminds them of the whole song. But for the kids today, hopefully it'll stir some interest and they'll want to hear the originals.
I could say that happens.
I hope that happens.
I think my kids and most kids. In their circles, no Joe DiMaggio's covered every word now.
Because they went to...
It was re-released, and it came back, and you want to hear the story.
You want to hear the story. So if that happens, then I'd say, yes, it's a very wonderful thing, it's a good thing. But if it's just that, they hear a line or two, and that's all they know of the song, and then they get a truncated version of it, I'm not so sure how valuable that is, but, But for us, for the older people who know that stuff, it's wonderful nostalgia.
So let's talk about something else. You're coming out with a new album now, Mirza Hashem Journeys 5. Now, I once read an interview with a secular artist, and he talked about why so many reunion tours, or when famous artists come back they do a comeback tour, it fails very often. He said more often than not.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
The reason is because the people just want nostalgia, and the musician wants to be creative. They want to innovate. They want to develop themselves. They're not looking for your nostalgia. I'm not here to bring you back to the best days of your life and then you go have a nice night and then you go home. and make you remember when you were young and skinny. That's not what I'm doing. He says, I'm trying to connect with you like I once did, and you're not there for that. The people who are coming to it weren't really down for what he was trying to do, which was find new strengths in himself.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that, and why do you think
So
that
you're
will-
saying that reunion tours where
was
they
a-
where
it
they
was
do
actually-
the
it was Simon
nostalgia,
Simon and Garfunkel they tried it, didn't
and they
work.
tried
It
new
was-
music.
It was ill-fated. They tried something, and it was I don't remember which one of them, if it was Simon or Garfunkel, was saying to the interviewer that he felt that the people weren't meeting them. They wanted it to be
No, I hear what he's
like
saying.
the
in
Yamim
terms-
Rishonim,
Understood.
where we did something, we built something together, and you didn't want that. You're a bunch of aging people who want me to bring you there. That's not what I'm here for.
Right, right.
So
So
what
I
do you-
understand that completely, but the reunion tours or the revival tours where they play their old music are very popular.
He wanted probably to do a mix of both.
So the new didn't resonate. I hear.
That's what he was saying. They said, "Go, could you again play whatever that song was?"
Scarborough Fair again.
Right, exactly. So what's going to stop people from saying, "Hey, Jordan's like, yeah, but could you really just play Neshamala? Like, what would you?"
Well, I'm not doing it on stage. I'm doing it on the album. So
I-
hopefully
but-
10 years from now, it'll be part of
Right, but
their...
I'm saying, how do you draw that line between, you understand that there's a lot of the relationship that the tzibur, that the public has with you is nostalgia based, and because they grew up with your music, you know that. And at the same time, you're an artist who wants to deliver. How do you know how to mix the old and the new, and in what proportion?
It's been 18 years. 18 years ago was Journeys 4. It's been 18 years.
Journeys 4 was
and-
Mamarachal?
Yeah, Journeys 4 was in 2003, 2004. It's a long time ago. 25 years ago was Journeys 3, and on Journeys 3, the opening song was Yes, We've Got the Music, with Majid Schenker, What a Pair, Yankel Talmud Songs of Ger. So on this album, we do an update. The last 25 years of Jewish music are going to be, I don't remember the lines off the top of my head, but there is no reference on this new song that was on the other one. Like anyone there is not repeated
That's a tricky
here.
game. You're saying names? That's hard.
I'm
You
telling
leave out,
you,
leave
a
in.
bunch of names. We've got all the current artists and 20-year ago artists and all. Not I can't say I have every artist. I mean, obviously we're leaving out people who I'm sure contributed, and I apologize to them here, Bapumbi in public. It's impossible
out of
to
the
have
way now.
everybody's name. We'll use this forum for my public apology, but. People who I've heard of and other people suggested, people who are
Do you listen
major
to a lot of music from
contributors.
other people? Is that something you do? Are you a Jewish music aficionado in any way? Is that?
So I really don't listen to too much, but I hear at weddings, I attend a chuppah, and if I hear something that's nice, I'll try to find out, whose song it is, and obviously at simchas, you hear the children, the youth singing songs, or even in the family, my grandchildren, I say, whose song is that? Then I learn a song or two. But
Your
I
children,
don't listen to my own
Your
music.
children are
either.
musical?
The children and the grandchildren, yeah, Baruch Hashem.
Did they collaborate on this new album?
If not for my children, I don't think there'd be a Journeys 5. Journeys 5 got started. I have 2 songs from my youngest daughter. I have 2 songs from my middle son that got me going.
Songs are the tunes or the lyrics?
Songs, lyrics, the
All
whole
of it.
kit and caboodle. And they really, I saw that I have some material with them, and it really motivated me to try and
I don't know if you're going to be able to
contribute as
answer
well.
this question, but we'll try.
Okay.
Sometimes parents, especially parents who are out there, performers, feel like they're compelled to let their children in because it's just the right thing to do to give them their chance. And other times they say, my kids are great, I need to share this. Are your kids good?
The people will decide. They're going to answer the
What do you
question
think?
for us. I think they're good. But for them, it's also not a career thing. They don't do music for a living. There are 2 songs about the Holocaust.
Interesting.
One written by my daughter, one written by my son. They both grew up in Toronto with grandparents who went through the camps, who wore their survivorship, if you want to use that term, on their sleeves. They didn't hide it. They spoke about their experiences. They spoke about their hometowns. They spoke about life before the war, life during the war, and life after the war.
2 songs with the Holocaust in 2021? You think that's
3 songs, actually.
Really?
Well, 2 songs. One song is about the Holocaust. One song is about the rebirth after the Holocaust. And one song is a story of Holocaust survivors. So it's
Wow.
3 songs. And I feel an obligation. I feel that the Holocaust is fading into memory, fading into the past, and our children aren't. I very much felt a mission to write some songs that would keep it
when the
alive.
very last survivor
Look
fades away.
what Ruth Lichtenstein is doing with Project Witness and trying to keep it alive in the schools and talking to the
Right, but
children.
she's not selling an album. That means a musical album is usually one experience, and you're saying there's going to be something else here. There's an element over here of depth and of awareness of your history.
Wow. I think all the Journeys albums have some depth. I'm very happy to write a song that's happy.
I'm asking if you shifted anything for the generation of 2021. You're saying you didn't. You're treating this audience like you always treated your audience, just that they're capable of hearing things.
I'm writing songs that resonate with me. If it resonates with the audience, Gamzu Latova. I really don't care. If the audience doesn't find it resonating and I fall flat on my face, I'll still be happy with my album because I'm putting it out and doing as best I can. And
It's a beautiful answer. I have a question for you. You dealt with people. You started out your career in the world of Rabbi Chait and Leibel Sharfman and others. And then you mentioned Donnie Gross and Joey. These are very today's people. How does someone like yourself, who's been around and dealt with all kinds of people, adapt to the sounds and the values and the instincts of a new generation? Many of them are half your age.
The music that's coming out today is just so the singers of today are so wonderful. There's so much beautiful music being on this album. I reach out. The old albums I did it my old style. It was myself with a couple of chevra, guys I knew and here and there, and they're wonderful and they did a great job and they represented Journeys better than I could have ever hoped for. But on this album, like I say, 18 years later, I went out and I said I want to have that voice because that voice fits the song and that voice is unique. And this song is uniquely perfect for that person's voice. So we have Shulam Lemmer is singing a song, Avram Fried is singing a song, Mordechai Shapiro is singing a song, Joey Newcomb sings a song, Baruch Levine, Shlomo Simcha, myself. There's just a lot of different voices on this album. And it's all because I really appreciate what's happening in the Jewish music world. There's so much
They must have been honored to be part of, to be associated with Journeys. Must have been an honor for them.
I hope so. I think so. I think they enjoyed it very much.
What's it been like working with Donnie, who literally grew up at a time, he's not much older than 18, right? You said it's 18 years since the last Journeys.
Right. So what I like about Donnie is even though he's half my age, probably less than half my age, he's not a pushover. He's not a wallflower. He doesn't look at me and say, "Okay, whatever you say, Bart." He says, "Nope, I don't like that." And he'll stand up for himself and he'll say, "You could do it better." And he's got a very sharp toe, and I love it.
You love what he brought out musically from your collaboration.
I don't always agree, and I still have veto power, but he brings, he challenges me, and I think he brings out a lot of maybe something that I couldn't bring out on myself myself. So. That's a good thing.
And the lyrics, other than that, from your children, is you and your children, all the lyrics on this album.
So the children wrote the two songs from my middle son, 2 songs from my youngest daughter. For each of those songs, they wrote both the music and the lyrics.
Amazing.
And then I have 2 songs are adaptations. One is an adaptation of a Moshe Yes song, and one is an adaptation of a Chaim David song.
Wow.
So I felt that those songs needed to be out there a little more, and there was more to say than the original artist did. So I took and I adapted it, and so it's like a remake, but with new words and new lyrics, and so those are fun.
Try for all eternity. There ain't no visual in a cliche. Clearly so, cliche. Without fabrication, I can say with positivity. There ain't no visual in a cliche.
And uplifting.
Do you write songs based on the world has changed many, many times in the last few years alone? We've been through. Is that reflected in the songs you've been writing and the lyrics you've been writing?
I don't know. I have to think about that.
Because people will be studying these lyrics.
Everybody who writes a song, anybody anywhere in the world writes a song. Certainly somebody who writes lyrics, it's based on experiences and things that have happened in the world to them in their lives.
Yeah, but nobody is studying. Your lyrics are being studied, like I showed you. People are sitting on and they'll say, who could convey the survivor experience that you just mentioned better than when the very last survivor fades away, who will stand before? You said things that defined an era for people and helped them process it. So it's not like anybody else's lyrics where we're...
So my daughter wrote, how did they lift themselves up from the dust and build this world they created for us? Just that line. How did they lift themselves from the dust and build this world they created for us? It's all very short, very simple.
So that reflects her experience as a grandchild.
And she, as a grandchild, she saw and she knew that her grandfather helped to contribute to the shul, and that the grandmother would go to the Beis Yaakov and go to Hachnasas Kala and donate her clothing. Nice. And she's seeing these people who crawled out. She originally had the line with but 10 fingers. Well, we ended up taking that line out because my mother-in-law always used to say, no, saying we only had 10 fingers when we came out. That's all we had. We just had the fingers on our hand. That's all we had. So she grew up seeing that. And then she translated it into a lyric, and the music is even nicer than the lyrics, so in my humble opinion.
So there is a lot coming together.
Yes. So that's not, your question was, is more of the contemporary events? That I don't know. I would have to think about.
But they're telling a story. You know, somebody sent me a joke recently. I'm not a big lyricist. I've done a couple of favors for singers I tried. So he wrote back to me. He wrote, oh, Sully, you're a genius. Whoever thought of rhyming love and above? That you're probably the first person in history. I was like, oh, he's right. That's like it's not a thing I really do. I took it. It was okay. You don't do that. You're telling the story first, and you're hoping that it'll.
Sometimes I look in a rhyming dictionary. I'm not going to lie and say I don't. I know I need a rhyme for this because I love the first half of it. If only I could find a word for the second half. But usually something's there compelling you to say something in a certain way. But look, over the years, I've also, done my share of, I have some tears and fears and, those kind of rhymes too. I have a few of those.
If you were the first, it's okay.
Not the first. Every camp song, every Color War song since they invented Color War has tears and fears in it. It's standard. It's
Do you see yourself performing these songs live again? The new journeys? Are you ready to take this out to the stage?
Not ready to think about that yet. How it translates to the stage.
You've reached a comfort level with the stage.
If there are songs that work well on stage and I can sing it at a kumsitz, and you know what? When I go to a kumsitz and people start singing Joe DiMaggio's card and they ask me to sing along, that's the best kind of kumsitz. I'd rather they sing and I'll help them out rather than the other way around, because that's the biggest honor. They love the song, they want to sing the song, and you're there to help them along, and that's a real kumsitz.
One day my great son came home from Yeshiva, holding a card that was blue. Saying at school is one of the and I'm giving this card to you. I love it, keep inside my drawer, where it will be safe as can be. And I vowed I would keep it forever and ever. It was so precious to me. It is so very precious to me.
You're sometimes able to say things with the English songs that you can't say with the Hebrew songs because everybody understands and connects with the words in a different way, right?
Unfortunately, we are so, myself included, so lacking in our understanding of what David HaMelech meant when he said those words. I mean, we try to translate them in our head, and if you don't have an art scroll sitter which properly translates it with the, O Zion, there's so much there, and there's so much poetry, and we miss it. It just floats over our head during davening, unfortunately. But the Hebrew, I think some of the Israeli singers today who are writing beautiful, wonderful lyrics with depth and meaning.
You like what they're doing.
I love it.
With that
open,
informal.
Yes,
direct.
Yes, it's important.
We talked about this. I wrote the book on Rabbi Trenk a couple of years ago. His favorite song was Ninth Man on the Team,
yes,
and he loved the idea of because I am their Rebbe. Is that the word? Or
since I am
their
Rebbe.
Rebbe, he thought that was a composite of everything a Rebbe is. That means if this was what it takes for me,
Do whatever
take
it
off my
takes.
jacket and take a bet for my Talmidim, I'm their Rebbe. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And he would do carpool every morning around like when he'd pick up the kids. He'd wake them up also, go into the house, go into their bedrooms and wake up every kid, bring them out to the van, and he'd play that song every morning. That's not poetry, since I am their Rebbe.
Yeah. I don't think that I have any song that doesn't have some kind of a message. I don't think. The closest song I have to a song that was really just whimsical and is the second version of the Ninth Man, right? Where it rains and the Rebbe prays for rain because they were getting blown out in the game.
Having fun and doing
So
music.
I was having a little bit of fun, but even there, there's a little bit of a message, but it's very, very little, very small. But I don't think I have a song. Even on the new record, I have some crazy stuff, and it's a little bit, maybe a little bit out of the box. Some of the music and some of the genres that we use, but there's a message, and you have to sometimes dig a little bit to get to it.
You feel like it's faithful to your chinuch training and background, these songs, that you're still teaching.
100%, 100%. The fact that the music changes a little bit is normal and natural. Music always changes.
Do you realize how unusual it is for you at this this age and this stage of your career
Advanced stage,
to be releasing new? I didn't say, like I said, of mir gesagt, such a hairline. You look amazing. Baruch Hashem. To be able to release new
Hi there,
music.
Chevra. How you doing?
Release new music with
He's going on again. He's just
to
rambling.
release new music with these guys.
Baruch
It's
Hashem.
a big
I feel I'm energized by it. The Chevra, I'm challenged. It's a challenge. And my children challenged me, Abba, you have to put out another album. You have to do it. I said, okay. I did a book. I did a sefer. I did a sefer with Art Scroll. I did a book, Pepsi. So Baruch Hashem, over the years, I've been able to have my outlets, my creative outlets, and push those things. But they said, the Journey's brand and the Journey's name is important, and it's impacted a lot of people, and you should keep on doing it. And they pushed me. And then when they came to me with not just complaints or tinus, go do something, they brought me material that was good and that was worthy of that brand, and that really motivated, pushed me.
I'm very much looking forward to hearing it. I'm going to close with the most cliched question. I don't think I've ever asked it to anybody before, because I always thought it was beneath me. A good interviewer shouldn't have to ask, what's your favorite song? But when we did an article on you a couple of years ago, I asked a lot of your close friends, Rivi and Shlomo Simcha and Baruch Levine and others, and nobody agreed. Normally, there's a legacy song. What's Abie's legacy song? And we had 12 people, and they gave 12 different answers.
That's the nicest legacy. That's the nicest.
Right, but what do you consider the legacy song? If I lowered myself to ask it, please answer me.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I
only say
your great-great-grandchildren. Someone's going to say, do you know who Abie Rotenberg was? What song are they playing to explain what Abie Rotenberg means to a generation, to generations?
I don't think they're playing one song. I don't think so. You have to play a bunch of
medley.
You have to play. It has
But
to be
they
a
can't
medley.
do half a
Baruch
song.
Levine's gonna do it.
But he's got to do the whole song.
May have asked him for me. He'll still be a young man, and he's going to put out a song with He'll pick the 10 or 12 songs that encapsulate everything. I can't tell you.
You are just getting started, there's lots more to come. The best is yet to come.
I've told people that. People say, what's your favorite? I said, I hope I haven't written it yet. My favorite song. So
you don't
still to come.
Talk a lot about what you're doing. You're just doing it. You're just quietly doing your thing. And here we go again. It's Aisha now with Journeys. Any more dreams? So what's next? What other albums do you still have in you?
After this, I am working on another sefer, that I can tell you.
Are you?
I am. So that's a dream of mine, to be able to come out with it. and to do it well. And I think I'm going to take a little time off from music after Journeys comes out, because I've been working with Donnie now on this project for 2 years. It's interesting. It's not like I'm sitting there working every day, hammering away for 2 years. But we've been talking about it, and songs have evolved and
A
changed.
lot of actual physical travel going in.
There has been that too, more lately in the last few months.
But the nice thing is that
but,
we both live in Canada. It's so easy and pleasant to get in and out now. They make it so nice for you and so comfortable. So that's a breeze.
That's right. I got to get my COVID test this afternoon.
Thank you for coming in. I'm
Pleasure.
very, very much looking forward, me and my family, to your new albums, to many more
That's
gesundheit.
Hashem.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Yisrael, and Hatzlacha to you. And nobody does an interview like you. You're the best.
Thank you very much.